Good morning, everyone. Afternoon to some of you. I'm so happy for you to be joining me today. Um, my name is Tamar, and I'm going to be taking you on this journey and through this masterclass initiation. It's a mystic, the ultimate mystic masterclass. And at the end of this, I will be sharing with you something that it's my baby, I guess, that I'm really bringing out to the world, that I've really felt called to bring more and more into the world, and it has to do with the Amara method. So if that interests you, after the masterclass, I invite you to stay. I'm going to share a little bit about that. But let's go ahead and just bring ourselves into the moment, into this class. And let's do that by first just dropping into the body and bringing ourselves into full presence. So if you would like, put your hand on your heart, put one hand on your womb. Just go ahead and close your eyes. And we're just going to take some deep breaths here. Feeling your breath as it enters through your nose, through your nostrils, and just being very present with how that breath feels at the tip of your nose. And how then that breath travels down your throat, down your spine, and into your belly. How your belly expands. And as you exhale, bringing that breath all the way back up along your spine and out through your mouth. Just releasing any thoughts, any stress, any tension. And with each breath, being very aware, very present of your breath as it enters your body and fills up your belly. And exhaling with a sigh. Now feeling the connection between your heart and your womb space. And as you breathe in, bringing your awareness from your heart to your womb, just going to be making this beautiful figure 8 connection between the two. And as you exhale, you're bringing the wisdom from your womb up to your heart. And as you inhale, you're bringing the love from your heart, that connection to source, back into the womb. And just envision this figure 8 that kind of joins the two, the heart and the womb, makes this infinite loop of connection. Mhm. Continuing to breathe, continuing to just drop your awareness a little bit deeper with each breath. Okay, one last breath and exhaling with a sigh. Oh, all right. So a little bit about me, just a just a minute or two. My name is Tamar Gail, and I've been on this journey for a very long time. I First, I would say my first initiation into the mystery school teachings, and looking back now, I know that it was an initiation, and kind of showing me my path. Happened when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and around that time, I actually started my cycle, my period, my moon very early, and I think that I was 8, 8.5. My mother says I was 9. So it was right around that time that I was initiated, and it scared me. I didn't know what to expect. And I was literally chased by a snake, a black snake. And it scared me because I was taught to be afraid of snakes. And it in the middle of town, not even in the countryside, I was reading a book and just had my nose in a book and walking on the sidewalk to my friend's house while I was reading. And all of a sudden, I heard this, and I kind of like lowered my book, and I looked down in front of me, and there's this black snake looking at me, just like head up and hissing. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I'm so scared of snakes. So I backed up really slowly. I crossed the street to the other side of the sidewalk, or to the other sidewalk, and I continued my walk to my friend's house. And the snake literally turned around, and on the opposite side of like where it had met me, and I had crossed the street, it watched me and it followed me all the way down to the street to my friend's house. And when I got there, it went up a tree, and it was like it was waiting for me. And I was frantic and I was scared to death. And I was like beating at the door of my friend's house. I'm like, please let me in. Please let me in. And I tried to tell my friend's mother, who answered the door. I was like, this snake chased me. It's up in the tree. And I'm not sure that she believed me. But after years of kind of just going on my way, um, doing my own thing. And I think my second initiation was when I was 18, and it had to do with a true like embodiment and gnosis of God, of spirit, of the divine creator, and how it is like this this creator is in everything, and in the trees and the flowers and the plants, and every blade of grass. It was just like in the sunset, and it was just this deep knowing, this deep like, wow. I literally stopped my car, couldn't drive, and was just in awe of what I just understood. And it was just really beautiful. And still, I kind of like went along my way, didn't work, went through my life. And it wasn't until about um, 28, 29, let's say 29 years old, that I started to really go deeper into my psyche, go deeper into understanding myself and my woundings. And, um, and then I think it was in 2013 that I really just understood that I needed to change a lot in my life. And I spent, from that moment on, like I literally spent a whole year diving within, learning, deepening my practices, understanding ritual and ceremony, learning from more teachers. It's when I started studying the shamanic womancraft, and I started just really diving deep, and it awakened a lot for me. I've never been the same. And it's been a very beautiful journey. I studied the ancient mystery school teachings, from of the feminine arts, from different teachers that I've had, and it's the learning has never stopped. The practices, the embodiments never stopped, and everything that I've done has taken me in through a process of working with my clients and using these tools with the clients that I have. And I have been in the field of the natural, like healing arts, since 1999. I was 18, 19, right out of high school, and I started practicing and studying then. But it wasn't until 2015 that I literally, no, I take that back. Um, 2012, 2013, I became a doula and was working with deeply with women. And that kind of started my path at working specifically with women. And then 2015, I started my own practice around working with embodiment in women's bodies and connecting with sensuality, working, and then just kind of like built out from connecting with our sensuality, which for me is all about being present with the body, being present with your emotions, your desires, your feelings, being present with the people in front of you, being present with the creator, and and it just kind of trickled into all the other work that I do. It just kind of opened up this beautiful like flower of container, this sacred container, and what I've seen it do and had the transformation that I've seen in my clients' lives, and not only theirs but my own, um, has really been a beautiful journey. So, enough about me. If you want to learn more about me, I'm happy to share. But today I'm going to be teaching you this Ultimate Mystic Masterclass. And this masterclass is based on three pillars that I use in the Amara method. And the Amara method is the method that I created from everything that I do with my clients. And those three pillars are the ancient mystery school teachings of the feminine arts. We have the ritual and ceremony and how that plays out in our lives and how we can use that. Then also for embodiment, the third pillar. So this is what I teach my clients to awaken, to transform, and to really open their channels so they can be connected, more connected, more their intuition, connected to their higher self, connected to divine source. And what this does is it's allowed them to lead, and myself to lead more of a passionate, joyful, playful, like aligned, healthy life, body, mind, and spirit. And these three pillars are what I take my clients through, and is the basis for everything that I do, and it encompasses everything. So I was going to have slides, but I think that I'm going to wait to use the slides later. So my lineage, and I'm just going to go into pillar number one. My lineage has been based on the Celtic shamanic traditions, which also connects to Mary Magdalene, Yeshua, and the ancient mystery schools in Egypt, specifically Isis. I've also done work with a little bit with Hathor and with Sekhmet. And I will be bringing in some of that, not today, but I do bring in some of that in the Amara method as well, depending on what my clients need. So my lineages and how they connect, like the initiates of the womb, what is considered the womb-centered mystery schools. They were steeped in this frequency of sacred union, the divine feminine, the divine masculine, and how those two came together within ourselves and within our relationship with our divine partner, how they come into sacred union. And initiates of Isis, of Hathor also, but of Isis, of Mary Magdalene, Yeshua, of the Celtic shamanic traditions, they were really devotees of love. And it was more of a magical um, merging of this masculine and feminine energy. And through this embodiment pathway of what was known as like the womb pathway, like the womb work, was really anchored in the feminine light body and bringing that feminine light body back into the fabric of our souls and Mother Earth. And the last initiates to have been known to fully live this pathway were Mary Magdalene, Yeshua. And as I said, like Egypt, the Magdalenes, and the Celtic shamanic traditions, they all have this like this connection. And depending on what stories we've been taught, Mary Magdalene and Yeshua were to have studied in the ancient mystery schools of Isis. And then they also traveled to the Celtic lands where there were already, from Neolithic times, these womb centered mystery schools. And they kind of joined forces and made this like this new type of teachings based in the feminine mysteries. So that is how like they all are said to have come together. So there are many different lineages of priestesses. You have the swan priestesses, you have the Magdalenas, the Magdalene priestesses, you have the Egyptian priestesses, you have the moon priestesses. And as you travel all across the Celtic lands, you see and hear about all the different types of priestesses that there were. Um, Obviously, they were everywhere, but we're going to stick to these. Um, and how Isis was known as um, a mermaid, like a lady of the seas, a lady of the lake, a lady of the seas. And Mary Magdalene was also known as a mermaid, the lady of the lake, lady of the sea. And these were known names throughout many different traditions, many of these ancient traditions. They were known to have these women of the lakes, women of the seas, and mermaid or mermen were magicians, or Magdalenas. And you could see these traditions and these like have carried out through the priestesses of Avalon, the shamanesses of the Druids. You also have the mermaids of Africa and Egypt, and the priestesses of Isis as well, also known as mermaids. And they all held the thread for these great mother, like the great earth mother traditions throughout um, the Near East and kind of like, I guess, most of Europe as well, especially Northern Europe. And these teachings, like I said, combined with these ancient Earth Mother schools to create the womb mystery schools that we know now. I keep looking into this light instead of instead of looking at you. I'm focused on this light. I'm sorry. um, and these womb mystery schools are where they practiced their feminine arts, the mysteries of the feminine arts. So with the renewal, like the water rituals and renewals, like renewals of life, of these living waters within our bodies. And these living waters are they're both physical, biological, and also multidimensional and etheric. So they kind of have these both sides to them. And what we see, sorry, let me take a sip of my Blue Lotus tea. We also see many ways that they connect. And so we see Isis wearing these swan wings. And at the same time, she's known as the Lady of the Seas, a mermaid queen. And Isis bears the wings of the swan and represents the gateway between the worlds. And this gateway is like the womb. And the womb is where new life takes form, and also dissolves and becomes formless. She's also known as the Lady of Fertility, the goddess of fertility, of new life, of pregnancy, of motherhood, of birth. And I think this is what really probably drew me to her initially as a woman, right? I had a male shaman friend of mine once. He was like, oh, he didn't really understand fully at that time because he didn't work with Egypt. He worked with South America. He didn't understand Isis in her full form. And Isis in her full form, and there's so much to her. There's so many reasons why we connect to Isis. And he was like, why do you want to be like, this simple, like connect with this simple um, goddess when you could have something like Sekhmet or and Sekhmet is amazing too. But for some reason I really just truly resonated with her. And I understand that I have many past lives in the mystery schools of Isis. And so that is one reason why. She was also a death and rebirth, um, known as, for death and rebirth. And there are many pictures of Isis and her sister who were illustrated in the coffins. Um, and these coffins were in the shape of a dragon with these really like outstretched wings, like Isis has, like she's portrayed. And what this does, it's protecting the dead, it's protecting those who are traveling from one world to the other. And the dragon has a very strong representation, not only in Egypt, but also in the Celtic lands, also like through the Celtic shamanic traditions. And the dragon represents the primordial dragon mother who births and dissolves everything from within her quantum womb. And when we look at the temples in Egypt, um, we see that they're always surrounded by water and sacred pools and lakes. And these lakes were built around the sacred temples and pyramids. And these also symbolized the primordial waters and all of creation that is birthed um, from those sacred waters. And water worship and ritual bathing is a huge part of these ancient traditions. We hear that all the time about ancient Egypt, and they were practiced by our ancestors. The primordial womb. And just go ahead and place your hand on your womb and just like tap into the primordial water and the sacred waters within. And then feel how that connects to the Great Mother, Gaia, whatever you want to call her. And how these primordial waters, these sacred waters, are a feminine healing and renewal within our bodies, and then also like water that's in the world, and why water is so important. And now, Mary Magdalene was also known as a Lady of the Lake and a mermaid queen. And the mystery teachings of Mary Magdalene was really a soul embodiment, a soul remembrance that unified the higher and the lower dimensions of the cosmos and of our consciousness. And this work that she did was a type of alchemy, of soul work. And the soul work is done within the darkness of the womb. And this is why the womb is so important. Our connection to our womb. And it's the reweaving of our psyche. And it's a reinstallation of the primordial like templates, the primal templates that we were created to have. And the repetitive stories that we see throughout all of these ancient traditions, all these teachings, all the mystery school teachings, and even, in the Bible and myths, there's so many different stories and myths throughout many different cultures that is about death and rebirth. And what this shares is it's a path that is known as the spiral path or the labyrinth path. And it's where at the very center of the spiral or the labyrinth, you find this wisdom coiled as a serpent. And then that wisdom that's found at that center is then returned with you as you exit out of that spiral, out of that labyrinth, with this deep wisdom and this embodied gnosis. And you carry that out of the spiral with you. And this is a type of initiation. It's going into the spiral, into our deepest essence, and understanding whether it's the womb, our childhood memories, our old beliefs. We find so much there at the center of that spiral, and we go inside and we learn and we gain this wisdom, and then we come back out with like this embodied rebirth, like it's a rebirth. And this is, like I said, an initiation, but the second rebirth, the second birth is so important to our awakening. But it's even more important that we move through our first birth. And I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later. Um, so these mystery schools of Isis and even Mary Magdalene carried this through, was also about sacred sexuality, which has to do with our divine union, and honoring our sexual energy as sacred. And there's a lot of teachings about that. And I think it's also why it's so important to connect with our sensuality, because our sensuality is really embodying that. It's for us, it's not for anyone else except for us and our experience and how we experience the world and how we experience our body and how we experience the divine. And then our sacred sexuality is using our sexual energy for creativity, for manifestation, for birthing our creations into the world, and for connecting with our divine partner in sacred union, and really honoring that. Is all of this making sense? Perfect. Okay, great. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes, give me a thumbs up. Shamanism. Let's go into that. Shamanism was said to have originated in Siberia, the word, um, and it means the one who knows. So it is really one of the oldest spiritual practices in the world and goes even further back, where it is really rooted in the prehistoric womb religion. And this is like an illustration of the feminine dreamtime journey of the womb consciousness. And it's where our our sexuality becomes awakened as women. And these sexually awakened women were the first shamans and first initiators in this prehistoric womb mystery schools, back in the Neolithic times. And these female shamans and initiators whose wombs were held, like were holding the spirit gate between the worlds. They were also known as the one who flows with the moon, and really understanding how our menstrual cycle, how our bodies are really connected to the moon, and how we cycle with the moon in whatever form. And there's a lot of different um, meanings behind when we're getting our cycle and how that flows with our life, where the moon is, even at the time of the astrological moment. Every day makes the difference. See, someone's raising their hand. Hmm. Yes. Yes. So shamanism is said to be the key to existence. And it's a gateway between our plane and the higher planes of existence. Yeah, many shamanic cultures and religions were based on the holy trinity of the cosmic womb, the female womb, and the womb of the earth. So um, all of these unite holographically. And this, in some shamanism, is also viewed as the triple world, which is recognized as the lower world, the middle world, and the upper world. And the cosmic womb, like if we're going to bring this back to like the feminine, the cosmic womb was known as heaven, and the female womb was known as Eden. and the earth womb is hell. So we had the lower, the middle, and the upper, um, which I don't really like to use those words because I feel like it really confuses things. The heaven, Eden, and hell, but they're the triple worlds. They're the three portals and gateways to what is known as the void. And all three of these is interconnected. And the way that I look at it is either the lower, middle, or upper, is the brain, the crown, and the upper world is one. And then what hell represents is the feminine root, the womb, or the lower world. And in order to truly transcend and ascend into heaven and enlightenment, we must first make the pilgrimage through the womb, or the hara, and the radiant darkness that resides there, the throne, the lotus. And this is where all things are birthed into being through light. And this is why it's said to truly ascend, one must really descend and make that true descent into the spiral and back out. So you'll hear me when I do a lot of my shamanic journeys, and when I take my clients through, I'm using lower world, middle world, and upper world, but that is on a feminine level. That's how we can understand like where it is within our body. The upper world really connects to our spirit guides, our angels, our ancestors, like our guides, the ones who are there to guide us. Um, the middle world is like really getting to know um, like where we are within our bodies, and like I see that as like this level, this plane, and the lower world is um, kind of like the subconscious. So you have the conscious and the subconscious. And this is also where I find my power animals are there in the lower world, which I really love working with power animals. I want to have any questions with that. Okay. Yes. These mystical, like they were doorways that taught about the shamanic mystery schools. And these happened across the world. Every ancient tradition had what we now call shamans. They just had different names. And these shamanic mystery schools that were across the world, um, they journeyed both above and below, and descending and ascending rites, both earth and star ancestors. So we have those, the middle, like in the middle and upper worlds, were ritually honored and consulted during these rites. And in many traditions, the completion of this mystical descent and ascent process is to then again descend it all, and ground and embody this living light here on earth. And that's birthing the heaven and earth. And this is also a sacred union, also a divine union. And this is where one can then live spiritually and biologically as a fully awakened being. And the shamanic priestess work, which is really what I teach, um, along with the soul tantrika, and it's kind of it's all one, right? It's all one. It kind of like joins together in this perfect sacred union. The shamanic priestess work is the practice and art of facilitating transformation for individuals, and using these shamanic traditional like shamanic techniques, as well as like a modern understanding of what myth and metaphor are, and the benefits of returning the power of healing, like not us using our power as healers, but returning that power of healing to the person that we're working with, because we want to empower them, we want to give them their sovereignty. So, from the traditional shamanic perspective, an illness is seen as a manifestation of disharmony in a person's life. The imbalance may manifest emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, you name it. And in healing practices um, that we can use that have been handed down through the shamanic traditions and used by shamans to heal people of their illnesses for thousands of years, they're fundamental to the practice. Our intention, trust, integrity, right use of power, and the idea that the shaman is the vessel through which the universe works, the hollow bone. And modern feminine shamanism adds to this. It adds to this as seeking and relating to the different aspects of the goddess if we're working within the feminine mysteries and engaging these different aspects to participate in the healing process and serving as priestess to the clients. We're translating symbols, we're translating stories, and we're acting as mediator between those worlds. And to do that, we need to connect with our bodies, our womb, our higher self, our intuition on a much deeper level. We need to be able to connect to the divine. Mhm. Yeah, we're acting as a mediator between the worlds. And we support others in order to find their way through the reframing of their woundings in order to bring out their deeper meaning and purpose. So we're a guide. And we use like the cycles of life, or cycles of the moon, or cycles of our life, and the cycles of the earth, of nature, as our teacher. And the shamanic priestess sees all acts of healing as a soul retrieval and supports the individuals to whoever we're working with or ourselves to bring themselves back home to themselves, to really integrate themselves back together. And she also creates community. And through honoring and celebrating the seasons and the rites of passage, the seasons of the earth, of nature, and the rites of passage of the people that she works with, that she guides. So to avoid soul and power loss, and this is something that I find is really we're really missing in our communities and our society today, and we see a lot of soul and power loss. And to be able to bring that back into our communities and hold communities together and honoring and celebrating the seasons and the rights of our individual lives and the initiations that we go through on a human level naturally. And as a woman, I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I'll name them now. It has to do with what we know as the blood mysteries, and that is when a girl becomes a woman, when she begins her menstruation, when she then becomes into motherhood, and she either is birthing a child or birthing her creations in the world. And then when she starts going through menopause, and then when she becomes a crone at a much later time in her life. Those are initiations of a woman's life that need to be honored, and men have the same. Men go through very much initiations as well that are not honored in today's world. Yeah. We help by being that example and through guiding and reconnecting individuals to their true nature, their empowerment, their sovereignty, and connecting with the earth and each other. So now I'm going to kind of like tie them back in to, well, first, does all this make sense? Is it yes? If yes, give me a thumbs up, type it yes. Okay, good. Good, good. So I'm going to go into the dragon and the dove. I talked a little bit about the dragon earlier and how that was also related to um, ancient Egypt, and it's related to the Celtic traditions. So, what is dragon energy? Primal power. Power in itself is an aspect of the Great Mother Earth, of the Holy Spirit, of Shakti, of our life force. And it's what brings, and it brings everything into creation. And we all have this life force within us. Some of it is just kind of like diminished because of the way we live in today's world. But this life force, this dragon energy, is how we are in love, how we lead in love, how we lead with our heart. It's the energy of the Kundalini and that coiled serpent that sits at the base of the spine that I spoke about earlier. And when it is dormant and when it's like sleeping, it is sustaining the life of the body, all the processes of life. And it's there at the base of the spine. And this great dragon energy, as I said, is the life force energy. It is feminine. It's a feminine power that is bringing all things into creation, and it causes everything to grow and to bloom and to be alive and also to die. This death and rebirth. And in the human psyche, the way we consciously connect to this dragon power, this dragon energy, is through desire. We connect with this energy through desire for anything, for our beloved, for our creations to take root and blossom, for adventure. Just trying to name some things that, yeah. What do you desire? What are some things that you're truly, really desiring right now? And type them in the box. Yes. It's desire that fuels our evolution. It fuels us to make decisions and to create in life, and inspires us to go out and to pursue and to seek, to realize and experience that all of these different things um, we desire can be made manifest, can be created, and that passion to go do it. And everyone has their own individual desire stream of this energy. And it's different from everyone else. It's like uniquely created and made for each person. And the dove energy is the celestial energy. It's like the heaven energy. It's the masculine. It's the angels. It's that divine masculine energy that Yeshua carried. And these two energies work together in the flow of Shakti and merge into spirit, into matter, creating that divine union of heaven and earth. And this dragon and dove energy, they really help to like deeply root. They help us to really embody and deeply root into the womb of Mother Earth, and from there expand out into this cosmic womb, and balancing and merging these two energies in order to awaken our magnetic dragon body of feminine light. And that feminine light is held within the DNA of our bodies. And it allows us to enter that multidimensional tree of life that's here. And I just think that's so beautiful. It's that joining of the masculine and feminine, and then being able to expand that out. So the shamanic rites that I teach support the merging of the unification of the ascending, fiery, rising solar energies, referring to the dragon or serpent, and the descending, flowing downpour of the feminine that's referring to the dove or the swan into joining these into being one. And the upward facing triangle was symbolized as the masculine, and the downward facing triangle was symbolized as the feminine. So we have those two. And together, these two triangles, when merged together as ascending and descending triangles, creating the star, the fully enlightened embodiment of the original human. And when we are a gatekeeper and protector of the ancient wisdom, when we awaken this in our bodies, we become responsible. Like when we awaken this in our bodies and we decide to hold this space on earth for the collective, we are responsible for holding those frequencies and to remember our true connection back to source, back to divine. And the 12 original guardian tribes on earth were the original designated key holders for the stargates, inheriting Jesus' 12 records consisting of our universal history, the data, the matrix. And these were gifted to us thousands and thousands of years ago, like close to 250,000 years ago.